We have been indoctrinated all our lives on the subject of copulation, and 70% of content online is of sexual nature or porn. Did you hear that? 70%. Casual sex has social, moral, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, and financial consequences. In today's session, I will speak to you about what you really need to know about sleeping around casually, whether you are single or cheating on your partner with other partners. There are choices you will need to make after realizing what sexual intercourse does to you every single time. And in part 2 of this session, I will speak to you on how to bulletproof yourself against sexual urges, desires, and advances of others. Abstention and refraining from sex not only becomes hard to explain to peers, but becomes hard to pretty much interact in a friendly manner, or go to nightclubs and bars, or even spend too much time online. Everywhere we turn and everything we do just constantly reminds us about sex or sexuality. When you start treating polygamy or promiscuity casually, then you start treating yourself casually. And that is a dangerous place, because it could happen to you at any moment that you drop everything that means something to you in your entire life and just become casual with your entire life. And if you think that's untrue, then you really must do some research on how patterns and habits start becoming innate over time. And then there is no reversing from there. So the obvious repercussions of casual sex with different partners is, of course, pregnancy, disease, heartaches. There are bigger and more long-term problems. Even more long-term than pregnancy is the self-sabotaging we do without realization. And then when we are ready to clean up and purify, which must happen and will happen at some point, but by then it's too late. The insides have already been rusted. People don't realize how sacred sex is. They treat it just as something you do when you come of age, or just for the pleasure that we get momentarily. Actually, sex is much more than that. When two people copulate, casually or in a relationship or in a marriage, there is not just an exchange of pleasure. Actually, that is the least of the benefits. Over thousands of centuries, men and women have forgotten the knowledge source that sex opens us to. This is a secret that has been removed from our reality. Now, I'm not approaching you from a spiritual or a philosophical point of view. Everything I say is backed by science, psychology, biology, and morality. Enjoyment of sensual feelings are the baseline rewards of copulation. When two people consummate, regardless of the protections being used, the fluids and chemicals that are in the mouth and in the pores really all mix up with our mating partners. These can have tremendous negative effects on your mind, on your heart, on your body, on your soul, and your lifespan over time. Do you know the generational difficulties and curses that may have come to the person's energy field? I don't want to get into the details of this, but I want to leave it as food for thought for you. If your life has become a bit confusing and a bit blurry, and decisions or emotions vary from day to day, stability in making conscious decisions are fading. Think about all this. Is all this happening to you? Before I dive into this topic, for explanation purposes, imagine you are a car, and your casual sex partners are the different people you allow to drive your car. One may have a heavy foot while driving. The other can't seem to see blind spots. Another driver always carries cologne on them so the car smells good. However, they themselves are always smelling musky of cigarette smoke. You have no control over that, but when the cost for repairs arrive, you can't tell who did what. You will pay for the entire bill. So the best option is to just keep one driver in your car and to become one with them. When you sleep around with someone, they influence you. even on a minimal level, but there is some sort of influences over your thought patterns at a minimal level. So minimal that we don't even realize it. Let's say you're a girl and you meet a guy. 4 days later, you're having sex with him. It's amazing. He's amazing. Everything was perfect. He told you that he is so impressed with your life. He builds your confidence. He asks you questions for your advice. He either makes you feel great about something or conscious. 3 weeks or 3 months later, you both have moved on, but they still remain on your phone. They still linger around in your social media page or your memory even. They don't completely go away. And what's even higher than that is that they have left a bit of their energy on your bed, in your car, on your clothes, and you on them. It could have been negative or positive, but you will carry that energy around with you for a long, long time to come. It's just like taking a sip of that straggler beer glass at the bar. You don't know how many lips have touched that glass. You're thirsty and you just need one sip. Sure, there's a hair particle stuck on the side of the glass, but go ahead. Sip it from the other side. I promise you, you won't stop thinking about that sip for a long, long time. Maybe germs, maybe contamination, and if anything happens to you, you will blame the drink straight away. So would you take a sip? Now expand that question on yourself in regards to your sexuality and your sexual habits and your sexual partners. Do you really want this person you are having sex with at the moment to have an influence over you for the rest of your life? Do you want all those partners you've been with to have left something on you that will be part of you and the rest of your life? You feel what I'm saying to you is far-fetched, but really it's not. Energy is transmitted and you know this. That transmitted energy becomes part of you. This is someone that is going to be with you for a long time to come, if not for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. So who is in control of your life now? You or your choices on your sexual partners? Think about that. Maybe you are one of those men that women find extremely appealing. You look good, you speak well, you show all the right personalities because that's who you are and those are your ethics. Nonetheless, it's very hard for any man, regardless how disciplined. The fact remains that it's not impossible but truly hard for a man to resist when a woman begins to display signs of sexuality with the man. Slight touching is enough for some men to submit, while others need to be a bit more pushed into it. And then there are women out there who are persistent to be with a nice man and they don't care if he is already in a relationship. Unfortunately, the people who submit to becoming a side or the second partners suffer from distinguishing the differences between seeking the pleasure of sex versus having sex to feel validated, complete, or loved. There are so many variances of the reasons why men and women cannot identify the true requirement of sex in their lives. Many times, it's an act to fill an empty space that we cannot identify. Many good men get sexually obsessive as they get older, caused by trauma of sexual comments, harassments, or even molestation by other female relatives. It happens. Just because nobody speaks about it, that does not mean it does not happen. It happens widely, but it's unspoken of, especially for males who grew up in underdeveloped or undereducated environments. Perhaps there were many female role models around in forms of cousins or aunties. Don't be naive to think that nothing happens there. Truth be told, many sexual obsessive men end up in that situation because of early-aged forced or manipulated sexual encounters with older girls. We will cover that in another session because it's a topic very rarely spoken about in terms of understanding some men's sexual habits and where they stem from. We're all aware of Stockholm Syndrome, and so this falls relatively close under the same parameters. Sexuality should be confined within mature relationships only and should be restricted to monogamy only. You're setting yourself up for trouble in the future if you are practicing polygamy. Science proves that a person who goes from sexual partner to sexual partner loses the ability to create bonds in a committed relationship later on in life. Do you believe after living a life like this, you will truly be able to settle down and have just one partner and not be affected by the challenges that will come in that relationship? No, you won't. The truth is, you will be in another's bed the minute you and your partner have a dispute, because that's how you have trained yourself over the years. And if you say you prefer to remain this way and don't intend to settle down and you are committed to this, then again, as you get older, you may find companions to walk with in this journey of life. But what happens when they don't understand that an important requirement of yours is constant sexual display? Because that's what will keep you happy and committed in the relationship. You think that's going to work for your partner when you are 50, 60, 70? So why do this to yourself by practicing casual sex? Everything we do stores a memory, regardless of how minuscule. You may not even pay attention to a fragrance, yet it will bring back a memory. Evolutionary memory, genetic memory, karmic memory, articulate memory, inarticulate memory. These are all different kinds of memories that come back every time you smell something or see something or feel something that reminds you and brings back a memory. You can eat and walk because of memory. You can have sex because of memory. If your memory forgets these, you will not be able to repeat these acts. Every single thing we do creates a memory. Every encounter we have creates a memory. Now, just as anything, if you process things carefully and calculatedly, then the results will be in your control. If you practice casual sex, you are constantly taking in wild amounts of memories, which only then creates personality traits you picked up from each partner. Just a little bit, but you constantly picked up different personality traits on your path of infidelity. So to wrap it up, the conclusion does boil down to morality, but more importantly, the conclusion boils down to where you see yourself in life. Everyone in their 20s and 30s gets lured from time to time into thoughts of remaining single, having no commitments, enjoying multiple partners, and living their full life. Great for you. But take a moment to look at people who were in your situation 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. That phase is over, and so the quicker you realize this, the faster you will save yourself from a lot of loneliness in old age. Do stay tuned for the second part of this video, in which I speak on how to completely control your sexual urges and start cleansing and purifying yourself and creating substitutes for sexual desires, so that you always maintain the chemicals and fluids for the right time with the right person. Okay? Be safe, be positive, don't sleep around, and keep taking those positive steps forward.